Karen Bonifilio, Outer Realms, Inner Journeys. We're going to talk to Bonnie today. You want to say hi, Bonnie?
Hey.
She's pretty cool. And we are talking about something that I knew nothing about. I didn't even know it existed. I have an interest in doing what she's doing. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you about her, and then I'm going to let her do all the talking, and I'll just ask an occasional question now and then. So, Bonnie, at the age of 17, discovered she had spiritual gifts. It took her decades to accept and learn how to utilize them for the greatest and the higher good. That's so perfect. It wasn't until Spirit pointed out that I had been prepared for my purpose while in nursing. Were you a nurse, Bonnie?
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed a nurse yesterday.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That she was to help people transition from this world back to spirit. Most of all, her career surrounded the end of life. So I can't count how many deaths I attended in one way or another. I like this next part. I have always had a morbid curiosity, and for,
I
and
did.
for,
I thought I was strange.
I have
Somebody
to.
had a death to go to. I go, man, I could go.
I used to avoid them, but now I honor them. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, unfortunately, never had too much to fear until my late 20s when, in a vision, I was shown a lady in a running car locked in a garage. Oh no. I naturally rationalized the thought away. On the way home, I discovered a neighbor had committed suicide in her garage. Was I supposed to have saved her? I wasn't given an address or name. How could I have helped? The closed door for that closed the door for me for 30 years. It wasn't until after I had lost my son, he was 30, I'm sorry, and I had retired and moved to help my youngest son when they started their family. Arizona is by far the best place to tune into your spirit. So my purpose here is to help others find their way home. First of all, I'm really sorry about your son. I think that is the most tragic thing a parent could experience in their life.
It is.
It is. It truly is.
But it led me
So
to where I am. So,
I know that's hard to get to that point. So kudos to you. So tell us about your purpose about finding someone finding their way home.
exactly. There is a beautiful song I love by a group I'd never heard of, or a lady named Texada. And it's called Walking You Home. And that's
Oh,
what this is all about, is helping somebody go back to where they belong. This world, of course, I will say this is my opinion and my belief. This world is a place we come to learn.
yes.
And this is not where we belong. This is where we've chosen to pass through. And so my purpose is to help somebody go back home, back to where they go.
And what is that? I know this person has a special name.
This
What are
person is called, commonly called a death doula or an end of life doula. The general public is very frightened of the word death,
Mhm.
dying, dead, die, all of those. So end of life seems to bring it about in a gentler way. So I am called a certified end of life doula.
That does sound a little easier. That does. It's a little softer on the heart. But I have no
Exactly.
problems with death doula because you have birth doulas.
That's
For
right.
my daughter had
Exactly.
one when she had her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there are two, in my opinion, two times where you can almost see the face of God or the higher power, whomever you believe in. One
Mm.
is as a child enters the world. The last face that child saw was the face of God or
Mm.
the face of their higher power. The end of life is the reverse. the next face they're going to see is that. How sacred can that be?
That's beautiful. It's actually very, very
It's
beautiful
very, in my opinion, a big honor to be there.
to be there. Um, well, tell me, can I say death doula even though you
Sure
prefer
you
the
can.
other? Okay. What kind of support do you give to the family? It's not like hospice, is it?
It's a conjunct to hospice, in my opinion. Hospice can't spend the time with the people that we can. They've got too much to do. They also
Yes.
have the technical and medical side of it. Okay. I am not involved in the medical side anymore at all. I
Mhm.
let my license go, said I'm done. I have other reasons to be here.
Yeah.
Um, but it adds on. Okay. I'm able to go into the home, similar to a hospice nurse, and evaluate the area. I'm always looking for safety concerns. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because, people, and I know the nurses do when they walk in, it's always, you don't know if it's their own home or if it's their daughter or son or family somehow.
Hmm.
But you want to make sure that that patient has the safest area they can. One of the biggest things I find are scatter rugs, area rugs. They come up and people
Oh,
trip.
yeah.
So easy to break a hip that way. So, yeah, that first thing I do is I try to recommend that all of those get removed so somebody doesn't fall. They would feel
I didn't even
awful.
think about that. Okay.
So,
And
those also we look at um, door jams, the bridge over the door. Sometimes in older homes,
mhm.
there's a hump there. Now, you can't remove it, but you can certainly identify it better.
Yes, so the person realizes it's there. Okay, what are
Mm-hmm.
some other things you can look for? I mean, that's fascinating because I know
Uh,
people have aging parents that they need to be
yeah,
concerned about.
exactly. You always want to make sure that nothing's going to trip them. For instance, rocking chairs are a big one. I love rocking chairs. In fact, I've got one that's on its way. But those little things stick out there, and it's so easy to trip over. So rocking
Right?
chairs need to be moved away. You don't want furniture too close together. Um, it's too easy to bump into and lose your balance when you're that age. What else do we look for?
I don't know, but
Are they? Hmm?
those are such good tips.
Well, I mean, it's just you need to look and make sure what are things that could get in the way. It's just as
Yeah.
simple as that. And
Hmm.
is the person walking? And do they have a good sense of balance? Are they using a cane? Are they on a walker? All those things feed into that.
Do you recommend a cane or do you recommend a walker for the person?
I mean, if they're terminal like that, I totally go for a walker. Now, walkers are harder because they bump into things and they
Hmm.
catch on things, but
Hmm.
canes are so easy to lose your balance from. And when
Yes.
you're at the end of life, those kinds of things leave. So
Hmm.
you don't want them to be on a cane doing this when nobody's around.
Exactly. Yes. I know when my mom was it my mom? No, my mom wasn't using a cane. My dad was. But my mom would grab my arm when we walked. And my dad's hospice nurse said, no, do not let her grab your arm because if she goes down, you're going down with her. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, I don't want that to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so, how do you help the individuals and their families navigate the emotional and practical issues of dying?
Oh, probably 98% of that is education. Our
Mm-hmm.
our nation doesn't deal well with death. We
No.
have made death taboo, fearful.
Mm-hmm.
So, immediately people, because they don't understand it, they don't know it. We're always afraid of things that we don't
We don't know.
understand, things
Yes.
that we're not familiar with. So, a lot of it is just teaching. It is also a lot of counseling. Most people have some sort of dysfunction in a family. You gotta,
Yes.
don't think that's news, but
True.
the idea is to identify that. Where
Mm-hmm.
is it? How can you not really avoid it, but deal with it in a healthy way and
Right.
bring everybody together on the same page? Because
Mm.
people at the end of life don't want to leave until they know their loved ones are okay. And I mean, I can't tell you how many patients I had in nursing that hung on and hung on. And the only reason they were hanging on was because the family could not come to terms with everything. They couldn't get along. They couldn't
Mm-hmm.
accept what was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to leave until you know your children, your grandchildren, your spouse are going to be all right. One patient I had,
Mm-hmm.
so at the very edge of life, kept hanging on. And we decided that, well, we knew why. The family was not getting along very well, shall we
Mm-hmm.
say. So when they were all there, we asked each of them to please tell us a memory as we were all grouped. What do you remember? What's a good memory you have of
Oh,
mom?
nice.
And when you get them talking about that, it changes the energy. It brings out the love. And it helps the client, the end of life, to be gentler and more peaceful. And it allows them to know that they have made a good impact. It didn't take very long. That patient was gone.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, Bonnie.
Well,
That
thank you.
seriously is. Do you have to have some certification to be in this position?
Legally, no. There is
Oh.
no registration. Like
Mm-hmm.
nursing, you have to have a license. Doctors have to have a license.
Mm-hmm.
No, to do this, you do not need a license. You don't have to be certified. I personally wanted to be certified, even though
Mm-hmm.
I had all that education in nursing. I wanted the extra certification because I I will go out on a limb and say that it will be registered or controlled and licensed at some date in the future. And from my education, I know that those that are already certified will be grandfathered in, and all others would have to go get a license. So I went ahead and took the certification.
To me, it gives you credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't know you and I was welcoming someone into my house to help deal with someone dying, I would kind of like to know they had some training in it.
Exactly.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I totally agree that
Mm-hmm.
the avenue that you took was really a smart way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And how do you find your clientele?
Oh, so much of that comes through ministry, different churches. The ministers will find out.
Oh,
Chaplains in hospitals, hospice groups. A lot of it's word of mouth.
yes.
Now that we're in the electronic age, I put my business card out electronically, locally on something called the Nextdoor app.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to get it
Mhm.
out there.
And I bet people are surprised. that there are
Oh
people in
yeah,
that
it
capacity.
depends on where you are in this country. I've lived in so many places. Was born and raised in the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
and grew up in Illinois, and then moved to Missouri and raised my family. I went
Mm-hmm.
back to Illinois at the very end of raising them. And went to Florida, spent a
Mm-hmm.
decade there. Then I went to Arizona and spent a decade there. And then my children decided they were moving to the Midwest again. So we're back to the Midwest. However, we're, and I didn't really think about this before I moved here. It is considered this, the Bible Belt.
You didn't know that?
Well, now I live in Tennessee. Okay, very northern Tennessee. Actually,
Okay.
northwestern Tennessee. So it is at the very border of what you would consider that. So I was surprised that it was so, um, uh, how do you say that in a kind way? There's a lot of Baptists here, a lot of very strong believers, and a lot of people in those beliefs look at what I do as sometimes almost witchery. It's like that, and they don't want information. They're scared.
Oh.
It comes out of fear.
Oh.
The same thing with the spiritual gifts that I have of visions and being able to hear through the veil. Not here. In
But you,
Arizona, widely accepted.
yes,
Cal-
widely.
California, widely accepted.
Well, I'm going
You
to tell
know,
you, you could come to Oregon because we have death with dignity. So, yeah,
absolutely.
you would definitely be
Absolutely. I
welcome
wish
there.
I wish the entire nation would. I think there
Hmm.
there ought to be. We do it to our
Hmm.
pets. Why not our loved ones?
Exactly. Yes. Well, then you open a whole can of worms with that.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to euthanize people, but let's be kind, okay? That's at least make it gentle, allow them to make choices.
Funny. Sorry. Because my mind goes, well, maybe there are some I should, but that
Uh,
wasn't very. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. So you've got to navigate cultural and religious differences in what you're doing where you are now.
big, big, big time. The first thing I want to know is what religion, if any, do they have? What are their beliefs? What is it they're looking for? What do they want? Do they want to be
Hmm.
buried? Do they want to be cremated? Do they want a green burial? There's, do
Oh.
you want a funeral home to take care of things? Do you want a home funeral? Do you want to wake at home? We are going, I'm seeing the trend going back towards home wakes and home funerals, where the person is
Oh.
kept in the home until everybody's done and there's no rush. Um, if they're going to be buried, they can go and have all that preparation done and then return to the home until they're ready to do that. And then the family and the friends can come and visit and pay their last respects, so to speak.
Is that prominent in your area?
Where I live currently, I have only been here a year and a half.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm still kind of feeling things out, trying to find where that open door is to get in. Um, and oh boy, it's just so different depending on where you are. I went to one church that was the same denomination I was in Florida. Well, I have been forever. Um,
Yes.
and in Florida was the most progressive church. Absolutely progressive. It actually
Hmm.
went against the general, what do they call it, hierarchy of that
Mm-hmm.
particular faith.
Mm-hmm.
But they believed in inclusion, and they believed in the doors always open. I don't care who you are, who you love, what you do, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
I went to the same church here. I stepped back about 30 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Same denomination too,
Same
huh?
denomination, stepped back.
I bet that was surprising to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I grew up in an all-affirming church, and I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and when I go to churches for the first time, I'll always sit in the back so I can watch. Well, you can't really go in the front and, turn around, but I want to see what the people are and how they're
Yeah,
reacting. And
exactly.
by the end of the service, I know what that church is like.
Yes. That's
So,
really, really kind of cool. Um, so I think the end of life is beautiful. It can be beautiful. How do
absolutely.
you, and how do you do self-care for that with your position?
You
Or
mean
do
for
you
me
need
or
to do anything
are
for
you
you?
talking about myself?
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
my answer to that will be very different than somebody who doesn't have my background. Because I was a nurse for so long, I learned to compartmentalize. Now, that doesn't mean things don't affect you. It just means I have done it for so long, I know how to deal with it. Um,
Oh.
I'm a strong believer in therapy. Things get a little bit complicated, seek help. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, I think everybody should be in therapy.
Been there many times.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's a great way
Hmm.
to learn about you.
Hmm. It is.
Hmm. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of taking time. Um, and now for me, because I'm older and don't have children in the home and all of
Hmm.
that, I can have that peace at home to kind of deal with things. Used to be in the
Right.
car when I was in nursing, I had to have the car to do that. So
Hmm.
it was the time between when I left to when I arrived at home that I would use that to decompress.
Do some self-care. I know with my folks, because both of them were in hospice at different times, I loved when that hospice nurse came in. And I would imagine you have that same rapport as a death doula when you are finally admitted to the house, that they look forward to you coming in and helping, and your knowledge and your compassion and your empathy.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually they're looking forward to it. Sometimes people are a little skeptical, mostly the male side of the family. I
Mm.
don't want to be gender specific, but there are more older men, and I say older, maybe above the age of 40. Um, and that's not old.
Sorry.
My son is that, it's like,
That's my son's age. Yeah.
exactly. My middle son is 40. So it's,
Mhm.
but I'm saying, they've had a little bit of life. So now they're getting a little skeptical of things and they don't believe everything. So
Oh.
I may, because of my gifts, be able to say something, um, and they're like, "How would you know that?" Spirit told me. Men don't.
Mm.
Women tend to go for that. They will understand. They're curious.
Mhm.
Men are like very skeptical. You have to prove yourself time and time again to the male side.
So I do you get accustomed to that? You kind of know that might be coming up and
Hmm.
work that
Sure.
way.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very sensitive to that kind of thing. I watch
and I
for it.
and Bonnie, having a nursing degree in the background is huge.
Yeah, it
I mean
is.
yeah. Oh wow, you get a lot of bang for your buck when you're there. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you. You're kind.
And I enjoyed that story that you shared. Do you have another story to share about an end of life care that was memorable?
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot.
yeah, there was, I do remember a young lady. Oh, gosh, she was in her 20s. And, I mean, I can picture the room. It was quite full by the time she passed. And probably, in each disease process, depending on where they're at, can totally change it. Okay.
Yes.
This particular one was renal. And boy, I'm telling you, if you're going to have to go, that's the easiest, most peaceful way to go. Um, they just go to sleep, and that's it. And
Yeah.
so they, she it looked very peaceful. And that's a good way for family to be okay with all of it.
Yes.
The hardest thing is when they're in the hospital and they've all, I have, the most recent one is a friend of mine um, back in Arizona whose ex-husband recently passed away.
Oh no.
And was she, she had a rapport because they had a child together.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was there to help her child. Her child was only 18. That's a,
Oh, young.
I know because my youngest child was that age when his father died.
Mm.
So I knew what they were going to deal with. Kids at that age, especially males, are very much controlled. I'm grown up. I can deal with this. When in fact, those emotions, I should say, the brain of a human being is not fully developed until the age of 25.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
emotions, do you think those are there? Or the way to understand them and why they're feeling certain
Right.
ways?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, she was telling me that he was he was ill. And she was telling me what it was because when people know you're a nurse, they always want to, well, what do you think this is? So,
Mhm.
and I said, well, he needs to be seen right away, from what she was telling me. And so she
Mhm.
relayed that back and he went to the ER. He was rushed to the ICU.
Oh my gosh.
And it took probably, I want to say 3 weeks, and he was gone. He
That
had
quick.
he had let an infection go too long, and I think the word sepsis is pretty well known.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually went septic. He was quite young. Well, when I say young, he was in his early 50s. To me, that's
Mm.
young.
Yes.
Um, and of course, was not prepared for anything like that. And because it was the way it was, his mother, who was strictly religious, probably Baptist from what they told me,
Mhm.
very restricted, was not ready for this at all, was fighting it tooth and nail. I was helping my friend help her son deal with it because her son was the next of kin, as they say. He was the one that was going to be responsible for making all those decisions at the age of 18.
Oh my gosh.
Right. That is
Wow.
really tough to lay on a
Yeah.
kid.
Oh, wow.
So she had to watch out for him and at the same time deal with his mother. I mean, the patient's mother, who
Mm-hmm.
was not ready for this at all and was quite vocal. And
Ooh.
yeah, it was quite a situation. And so, yeah, I dealt with her long distance to give suggestions and things. And I actually used the story of getting the memories going and helping them. And
Good.
she finally called me on the phone, and I had to talk to the mother and relayed a lot of things. And I said, this is not good. This is, think about how painful this is for him. Do you
Mhm.
want that? Would you want that? You have to accept what is when the doctors have said there's no way they can help you.
Yes.
And so eventually she finally came around after we talked, I think, 2 or 3 times. And he was allowed to remove care. And he finally passed.
He could die a
He
peaceful
died
way.
peacefully then,
Yeah.
yes. Because, at that point they had finally had to intubate him, put him on a breathing machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once that's done, they'll live until,
Yeah. It's going to keep them alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So then that puts such a horrible decision on the next of kin to unplug.
And
They
that
always feel like they're killing them, when in fact, no, you're allowing them
to
to
be
be.
released. Hmm. Wow.
So he finally left, and things finally moved forward. It was quite an ordeal, and I just felt so bad for my friend and her son.
Yes.
And I understood the mother having lost a child. See, everything in your life leads you to where you are. Yes,
Hmm.
it was horrible to lose my son. Absolutely. But
Yes.
my son had told me he was going to die at that age. Um, Children, extremely young, are able to go through the veil. And when I say veil, I'm talking about the wall between this world and the next. When they're
Right.
young, you'll see young children. I've got an imaginary friend. It's not so imaginary,
Yeah.
okay? It might be
Hmm.
grandpa that's no longer there.
Yeah.
So, the same thing. Where was I with this story? Holy mackerel.
I'm kind
Um,
of curious about your son. Was he young when he told you that he was going to be dying at a certain age,
he
or?
was not that young. He was about 16. And
Oh,
as clear as day, I can remember it. He was coming up the stairs and he was telling me, I'm not gonna live very long. And I said, what are you talking about? Of course, as
oh
a
my
mother, you want to
gosh.
allay all of that and push it
Hmm.
away and go, you're gonna be fine.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. I should have sat him down and asked, what is it that makes you think that? Wish I could go back and do that and help him.
Hindsight. Hmm.
Yeah, hindsight's wonderful, isn't it?
But I'll
But I
tell
would,
you, he
hmm?
seemed okay with that, though.
Well, I'm not sure if he was looking for, I almost think it would have been better if I had stopped and said, why do you think this? And allowed him to express himself
Hmm.
instead of stopping it by saying, you're going to be fine. You'll be an old man someday. It's the natural way a mother
Hmm.
does things. It's just normal.
Yeah.
When in fact, I wish I had done things a little differently. But it's okay because he finally came to peace. And at the end of life, people, and it might be just because I've seen so much of it, I can see it. as the spirit pulls away from the physical body, there is a look. People can become, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say withdrawn. It's it's really hard to describe. But I saw it and I could show pictures. My son, it was very clear that the last time I saw him was the best visit we had had because he had had a troubled life. And I mean, being a divorced parent, you would understand that children sometimes have issues from that. And it can play out in adult lives. So he came to visit. It was probably the best visit we had ever had, and he had actually said so to his brothers, which made me feel really good.
Beautiful.
The biggest gift he gave me was the last hug he gave me before he left my home. He held me. He knew. The soul always knows. Mm-hmm. He held me for so long and held me so tight that it was just so different. And that night was when he died.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Gosh.
The last photograph that I have of him, his brother took. And I didn't see it right away because, of course, when there's grief, you just can't see your hand in front of your face.
True.
But all of my friends could see this, and that was in the picture itself. You saw two hands coming out of the sky. They were in the clouds. You could see two hands. No.
Oh, Bonnie, no. That's beautiful.
It really was. It was when they finally, everybody was like, oh my God, look at this, look at that, It was quite reassuring in a way,
And then God you could see
calling
it.
him home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh gosh. Oh, okay. You got me on that one, girl. Oh gosh. Okay. I want to ask you a couple questions and then I want to know if there's anything I missed that you would like to say. Oh my gosh. Bonnie, tell me advice that you might have for people that are considering getting someone in your profession.
Ask around.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is personality. We all don't get along with everybody. You got to find whoever fits with you. Mm-hmm. You, of course, the background means something. Certification means something. Education means something. I would ask all of those questions. What is their experience with this? Have they tended to a lot of deaths? Is this something brand new for them? Is it something they did in the family? A lot of times families will have somebody, and this goes back generations, mm-hmm. where there was this one family member who would always come and take care of whoever it was. Mm-hmm. So, is that the experience they have? Have they been doing this a while? I would ask them what they look for, where their certification is from. I would dig into that. You want to know. Mm-hmm. Is it somebody, and I hate to even say this, that would just print something off of the internet? Or is it somebody that actually was required to take a certification test?
Right.
Those are all things to look into.
Those are great things for someone to keep in mind. Those are really those are treasures. Okay. Bonnie, with the work that you're doing, and I know that you're coming on again because there's some other facets that people don't know about you. But with this, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? I know it's kind of heavy duty.
I would like to be able to honor my son's death in some fashion, and I feel like this is a good way to do it.
It is.
If I can build this business and hand it to somebody in my family.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh, wow. I think I was going to get emotional with this. Um, is there anything else you want to mention that I forgot to ask? Anything you want to share?
Um, well, I mean, no, I think the rest of this will come out in the other interview you alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yes.
want to get into those kinds of stories here. I don't
Not
think.
yet. Not yet. Okay. Bonnie, this was very powerful. I've had a couple interviews that were really powerful, and this was one of them. So,
Oh, well,
gosh,
thank you.
yeah, keep getting your word out there because what you do is so crucial. I do have another question. Let's say, well, someone could hire you if they were not in the same state, though,
Mhm.
because you could give them comfort just the way
I
we're doing
do,
right
just
now.
like we're doing right now
Yeah, that's
through
cool.
Zoom.
Ah,
The only difference is, if at all possible, I like to make a home visit, an initial home visit,
yes.
because I can't see in your home where things might be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of it that I can't do.
Yeah.
I can do all the education. I can have family meetings. I can talk to the patient about, do they want, what kind of legacy do they want? There are certain things I offer. Um, I have a company who's through a friend in the family, and they do, I think they call it sacred messages, and that's
Oh,
where we do video, just like this, and leave what do you want to say to your loved ones? Do you have a special message for one person? And so they will make those videos, and then when they've been told to release it, they will send it to that person. It's pretty powerful to get a
gosh, it's
message.
great. Yeah, I would love to have had that from my mom and dad. It's
Sure.
wonderful. Oh,
You know,
wow.
what
Well,
things
my
have they
husband.
not been able to say that they would like to say? You
Hmm.
know, um, it's sad, but humans aren't real good at relational things, especially when emotions get involved.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I
Bonnie.
also have another company that I deal with who,
Mhm.
depending on what they have planned at the end of life, for those who have chosen cremation, this company will take the ashes and place it into glass,
Yes.
blown glass. Have you seen those?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful
Beautiful
things.
works. And,
Yes.
I mean, there are people, my son jokes all the time about, I'll have you put in an hourglass and you'll be at game time every Friday night. Okay, thank you.
Oh gosh, Bonnie, I hope that people contact you. This is just so enlightening, and what you do is critical. Can you hear my dog? She's making really weird noises. There she goes. Bonnie, thank you so much. I appreciate
Oh,
it,
you're
and we will
welcome.
have you back for something else.
Okay, I look forward
Okay,
to
thank
it.
you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.